We're Pandion Music Foundation for those of you that are just joining for the first time. I think a lot of you know who we are. We are a 501c3 nonprofit that equips emerging artists, emerging music creators around the world with tools to help foster more equitable, attainable, and sustainable careers. We're based in Los Angeles, and Pandion Music Foundation amplifies diverse voices to grow a more inclusive music industry by providing free weekly online workshops and wellness initiatives that connect independent musicians with leading professionals. And today we have Beto Hale. Born in Mexico City, he has worked in several facets of the music industry. He is currently producing his own music as well as other artists in his studio in Los Angeles. He holds a degree in music from the Berklee College of Music in Boston and the University of Denver. So welcome, Beto. So tell us about you. That just gives us a tiny little glimpse into you and who you are. Give us some
Thank you
more.
so much. Thank you. It's so great to be here. It's so beautiful to see people from everywhere in the States and everywhere in the world. Bienvenidos to everybody who speaks Spanish. I was born in Mexico City from a pretty interesting mix background. My paternal grandfather was Polish Jewish, moved to Mexico in 1921, and married Polish Jewish American woman. So those were my grandparents on my dad's side. My mother was born in the U.S. From close to Philadelphia, the suburbs of Philly, and she was not Jewish. She was Episcopalian, lives 10 minutes from us, still with us. Very lucky to have her still. Um, so my upbringing was non-religious, by the way, but very musical. And I started listening to all sorts of music from a very early age. My parents had a really good collection of vinyls, still listened to vinyls for many years of my upbringing. And they had, you know, everything from Broadway musicals to Frank Sinatra to bossa nova. But then one day I discovered these really strange looking guys on the cover, and they had really strange haircuts and they looked strange. And I played the music, and that was it. Yeah, the Beatles. And that to me was kind of a life changer. I think it's been the case for a lot of people. But growing up in Mexico City, every time you go to a restaurant, every time you go to a party, every time you turn on the radio, you would hear, of course, incredible local music, which is extremely rich. The influences of Mexican music are extremely varied. Some of you might know this, some of you might not, but for example, the accordion music that you hear, which is norteño music or also Tejano music on the US side, all that music is directly influenced or a direct, let's say, grandkid of German polka, so that's an influence. The music from Veracruz, where La Bamba comes from, the original La Bamba song is influenced by African music. And mariachi music is a mixture of French and many other musics. So really, just Mexican music is an amalgamation of influences from really everywhere in the world and all sorts of cultures that you would not think to necessarily mix together. In addition to that, Mexican radio, the one I was listening to, FM mostly, was very Anglo heavy. So I was listening, to bands, like Rush and jazz musicians like Pat Metheny and things like that. So really, I was extremely lucky to grow up in a time, 70s and 80s, where radio was very eclectic, musically speaking. And of course, all the national influences that I grew up with just gave me this very wide spectrum of palette of sounds. I started playing the drums when I was around 8 years old and never stopped. It's still my strongest instrument. I then added guitar and piano and did all these instruments basically self-taught for a long time. But then around 18 years old, I decided that I really wanted to study seriously. So I took lessons, and then I actually enrolled in a conservatory in Mexico called Center for Investigation and Music Studies, something like that, translated into English. At the very at more a little before that, though, I was in my just first few months after graduating high school. I was hired as a keyboardist for a extremely popular pop band as a backing musician. This was a vocal band, like in sync type, Backstreet Boys, but it was boys and girls who were extremely successful in Mexico. Their name was Timbiriche. And I toured with them all over the country. We played in stadiums and we played in huge arenas, and so I had a really direct taste for the rock and roll kind of lifestyle for a little while. And but soon after that, when I finished that stint, is when I enrolled in that conservatory. And then I always had my sights set in Boston. I saw somebody here who's from Boston, Berklee College of Music, which at the time, and I guess it still holds true today for young kids in Mexico and everywhere in the world, is like this legendary place, this place that everybody would talk about. And the guy that I actually replaced as a keyboardist in this band that I was with had been gone for a few years already, and he would come back and talk about it, and other people would talk about it. So I sent a tape. Back then it was a cassette tape with some drum playing, and I got a scholarship to go to Berklee. Not a full scholarship, but enough to convince my mom that I wanted to, really do this. So in 1992, I moved to Boston, and I did my 4 years there, studied drums as a performance major, but I also did a double major in songwriting. There's a lot of stuff that happens after this, but I want to try to just, make it as short as possible so we can listen to some music. After that, I lived in New York City. I played in a punk band. I recorded in a very famous studio called Avatar Studios, formerly the Power Station, where a lot of very famous people had recorded. Our band never made it very big, but I got a great experience of playing in these really famous venues in New York City, like CBGB's, if anybody's a punk fan. And then I moved to Denver, Colorado, where I was the editor for a music magazine in Spanish that was actually Boulder is where they published it, called Musico Pro. And what we did is we tried to include all instruments, but also talk about recording techniques and also interview famous producers, artists, and people in the industry. So I had that taste, kind of being on the maybe journalism side, but I never stopped making music. And that first year in Denver, I released my first album, and I've released ever since then maybe like 5 full-length albums and a few EPs and a few singles under my name. Um, I also played in a lot of bands during my time in Denver, but then for several years my sights were then set on in LA, because I thought that's the place where I really wanted to expand my career. And we finally moved here now 17 years ago, 2007. And again, kind of fast forward, I opened my studio in 2016. I'm sitting in it right now, and I mean, that's a quick look. We have a 2,000 square foot facility here where I produce music of all styles. I've produced opera, we've recorded jazz, we've recorded Latin kind of pop, more traditional Latin music. I'm very lucky that an album that was recorded here by a band called Flor de Toloache. They are from New York, and one of them is Puerto Rican, but they actually play mariachi music, but they sing in English, and they mix all these influences, rock and pop and other electronica even. And they were nominated for a Grammy, and I actually have a certificate in the other room that says, this album was recorded or partially recorded, here, and I have a assistant engineer credit, so that's a nice feather in the cap there. But really, we've done a lot of different things, and I'm always also supporting young people. I've recorded with, high school students that have a song that want to record and they've never been in the studio before. We just released a song with this kid who came in with a really good song, but he'd never recorded in a studio before, and he was so focused and so excited, and we actually released the song, and that was a beautiful experience because I feel like one of the things that I've always been interested in is, like, if you will, to give back to people who are very enthusiastic but don't know even where to start. And the same with people that are not that young. I'm always trying to lend a hand. So that's very, very compressed, a little bit of my bio. And I wanted to play a couple of things, and then maybe we could just have a conversation and just open it for questions, if that's okay with you guys.
Yes, absolutely. Beautiful. Great, great overview of your whole life and everything in that, and then ending it with one, your desire to give back. And that's what Pandion Music Foundation's about, is how we can be there for each other and help each other musically, and also, you know, we just in a healthy way, in a way that we can look at wellness and mindfulness as well and bring that into our music. Yes, so yes, share with us what you have
I
prepared.
I have I have I hope I know how to do this. Let me see. Go back to Zoom here. I don't often share my screen. Just give me a second. I'm sorry.
And I can
The
help you
computer's being quite slow here, actually.
oh yeah.
You
It
can
happens.
also send me the link and on the chat, and I could pull it up on my end.
Okay. Let me
If
see if I
you,
can do it. I think
yeah.
I got back to where I was supposed to be. I don't know why the computer's acting up a little. So I'm going to do share sound, optimize for video clip.
Yeah.
Let me know if you guys can see. I pushed
Um,
share.
We could see you're sharing the screen, but nothing,
Okay, okay, okay,
nothing.
great. So,
There we are.
do you now see
Your
the
computer.
YouTube app
Oh
here?
yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna play, the first thing I'm gonna play is a song that I think really kind of epitomizes this combination of Latin influences with, more American, as in US influences, and everything in between. I want to play the whole song. It's only 4 minutes, and then kind of talk about it. And then I'll play just snippets of other stuff. But I think this song is a cool example of, basically the theme for today, if that's okay with you guys. Um,
Absolutely.
Let me
This is
see. Gonna close some other windows that I don't need. See if my computer speed improves. Okay, you see that screen there with the video?
no,
yes.
it's on. Oh, yeah.
It's loading. Let's see.
Yeah.
Sorry for this slowness. Yeah, it's stuck. Oh, there it
Yeah.
is. Oop. Buffering.
No me define mi color, no me define mi acento, solo me
to the M, I am the full measure. Tone setter, many storms weathered for you to see my heart, a war treasure. A spark to light the way, hope for our children in brighter days. No definition defines our place, this is the path we pave.
Tesoro del mundo, en lo más profundo. Tesoro del mundo, en lo más profundo.
Oh. Hmm. Okay, I'm gonna stop it.
That was great. That was great.
Sorry, guys. I don't know. Now I know that my computer is having trouble handling all this stuff at the same time. But anyway, that
Yes.
gives you a little idea. We can talk about it first. Really quick, I'll just tell you what the process was like.
Sure.
I was working with this management slash PR company, and we were at an event. Whoop, sorry. Still sharing the sound somehow.
It's
Sorry about
probably,
that.
oh, here you go.
It
You
just
got
started playing the next one. Let me
it.
go
Okay.
back. I'm gonna close Chrome because I think again maybe all these apps together are not getting along
Sure.
for some reason.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Beto, if you have another music video you want to share after the conversation,
Yeah,
you
I'll tell you what it is. We should have done that from the beginning. Sorry. Anyway,
no worries, no
yeah,
worries.
we'll do it. If you go to my channel, I'll tell you, from the official videos which one we can do. Anyway, what happened was I was in an event with this management, the people from this management company that I was working with, and they introduced. Well, actually, they said, "Are you interested in doing something with Osomatli?" This is a very well-known LA band that's actually become well-known in many countries. They've been around, I think, for 20, 25 years. And I said, of course. And so this person I was working with, she went over to the manager, talked to him for 5 seconds, and came back, said, "Okay, you're in." I'm like, "Okay, then what happens?" He's like, "Well, write a song." Well, I wrote that song, Tesoro. I did a pretty simple demo. I think I maybe did I do it on an ukulele? I can't remember, but it was a pretty simple demo. I sent it to them. They liked it. And I mean, everything happened pretty fast after that. And I had actually met them when I was editor for Musico Pro, and they sort of maybe remembered me, but we really haven't actually met. We hadn't really met until the day of that recording that you see there. That video is of the day we recorded the song.
Wow.
It's very real, I mean, it's kind of stylized and everything, but that's those actual scenes are us recording the songs. It's real, it's not acted. It's like we're actually playing. And so the song evolved in a really nice way. I believe maybe the groove of it was a little different in my demo. I would have to go back to the demo and think about it. But okay, so what's really great about this band is that they have, you saw the drummer is actually Japanese American. The percussionist is African American. There are two Latino guys. There's a guy who's like a Jewish, and I don't know what other mixture he has, a bassist. Very LA, if you will, in the sense that there's people from everywhere, and their influences, whatever they grew up with, is this just amazing mixture, just like for me. So I think that was a very natural matchup, if you will, musically, because we all have this understanding that there's really, and this is really what I believe, there's really no borders when it comes to music. And it's just different ways to approach a little bit the different elements, rhythm, you know, harmony, whatever. But if you boil everything down, there's so much commonality between, let's say, folk music from Africa, folk music from Spain, folk music from Mexico, you know, the blues, you know, and there's everything in there. So I think that that's a really cool example of, you know, how you don't even need to know somebody. You can communicate musically if you're just open and are willing to kind of work together. I think the very, let's say, U.S. Influence there was this rap that the percussionist added after, because the song without the rap is basically the song I wrote, but then, you know, they really wanted to add a touch that would really give a seal of something beyond what my original song was, apart from the fact that they have the instrumentation that they provided, the trumpet and the sax and all that. But this rap and the fact that it was in English in a Spanish language song, it just kind of closed that circle of an international collaboration, if you will, in terms of influences, even though we're all based here in LA. I mean, just the fact that we're, you know, LA artists, I think makes it pretty hard to not have international influences. So, you know, that's a little bit of the story behind that. And we can play one more maybe thing. I mean, because there's a lot of stuff, but maybe one more that I think is a really cool collaboration. And then we can open it up for questions and just kind of have a nice conversation. We still have time, if that's okay. And in YouTube, Anaí, it's the song called La Realidad. It's the kind of the featured video in my main YouTube page. That one. And I'll tell you about it when we're done listening.
Let's see. Can you hear this?
I don't hear it.
Okay.
No,
Maybe I
the
didn't
sound.
share sound.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see.
Me paso el día tarareando, palabras conjugando, melodías inventando. Busco que el pentagrama aliviane mi drama, me devuelva las ganas. Y es que la realidad no la puedo ya aguantar. Y es que la realidad no la puedo ya aguantar. Hoy prefiero soñar con un mundo sin maldad. Y es que la realidad no la puedo ya aguantar. Aprovechando la crisis, yo relajo mi psiquis, invocando a los hippies. Tal vez mi lado creativo de la musa recibo, mitigar el vacío. Y es que la realidad no la puedo ya aguantar. Y es que la realidad no la puedo ya aguantar. Hoy prefiero soñar con un mundo sin maldad. Y es que la realidad no la puedo maneja los hilos de este desatino. Arreglemos el camino, será fértil y florido. A la vida demos sentido. Realidad dura y compleja, para ti tengo mil quejas, porque este destino, quien maneja los hilos de este desatino. Arreglemos el camino, será fértil y florido. A la vida demos sentido. Es que la realidad no la puedo ya aguantar. Y es que la realidad no la puedo ya aguantar. Hoy prefiero soñar con un mundo sin maldad. Y es que la realidad no la puedo ya aguantar. Arreglemos el camino, la realidad será fértil y florido.
Yay! What a sweet song.
Thank you.
Both of them.
So that song was in collaboration with a very, very, very well-known, even bigger than Osomatli band. They're a duo, as you can see, from Colombia called Aterciopelados. Their name translates as the Velvety Ones. In the 90s, they became one of the iconic Latin alternative rock bands. That's kind of the term that was coined, I think, on this side of the border. Latin alternative, because they weren't really a traditional rock band, but they also weren't a pop band, and they had influences from like punk and very Colombian rhythms and all these things, and they're still going strong. They've actually been touring the whole world the last couple years nonstop. And again, through that same company that I had been working with, I told one of the people there I would love to collaborate with Andrea, the singer. Originally, it was going to be with her only, and I sent the song, and she's like, "Yeah, it's a really cool song, but I would love Hector to produce it." That's her musical partner. And then it just became where it made sense to just call it a Aterciopelados and Beto Hale collaboration, because he was involved, and that's really the band. And actually their guitar player, who's not officially, legally speaking, a member of the band, but has been touring with them for years and recording with them for years, also played in the track. So it really was an Aterciopelados Beto Hale track. And the song has this message of, reality is harsh, but we have to have hope, basically. And not too different from Tesoro. Tesoro is a little bit more about, anti-racism message or so, but this one is just about, we're in a tough spot in the world right now, but we got to keep our heads up, in a very simplistic way of explaining it. And so so again, I was told, write a song and we'll send it to them. So that very same day after I hung up the phone with this manager, I went to the piano and I wrote the song. I just wrote it right there. And then when I sent it to them, Andrea asked if it was okay to kind of contribute some lyrics. She had some ideas. And so my verses were more sparse. They had fewer words, and the message was the same, but she wrote all these beautiful lines. Then the chorus is intact, is exactly what I wrote, and then the bridge is also intact, the same as I wrote, but then there's like let's call it kind of a rap section, if you will. Realidad dura y compleja, para ti tengo mil quejas. That's Andrea. So it became a songwriting collaboration. And then I asked to also be a producer in the track. So Hector and I ended up producing the track. And all this was done remotely. We had never met in person throughout the whole process. The first time I met them, the track was already done. They were going to play in LA, but I couldn't make that show. So I asked them, hey, you guys are going to be in San Diego. Can I come there? Sure, we'll leave you a pass. And I drove down there. And I went backstage after their show in San Diego, and we met for the first time. They were
Wow.
just beyond nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been wanting to make a video. By that point, when we met, the song had already been finished, mastered, mixed, everything for almost a year and a half or so.
Wow.
But they had never had the opportunity because of their busy schedule to do a video. And, it was very highly recommended by everybody that advises me that a video would have been a good idea. And that day,
I think you froze again.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was just me.
Uh,
We could just wait a little bit.
oh, yes.
Yeah, for folks who have questions, feel free to raise your hand using the Zoom feature. If not, just add it in the chat and we could unmute you once we get Beto back.
Right. And I like the fusion that Beto put in this song, and it has such a catchy melody, doesn't it? So, yeah, you can I like the influence there. Okay. He's signing up with his iPhone. Let's see. Give him a second.
uh, uh,
There you are.
my family and I have this theory that when Apple releases a new version of the MacBook Pro, that same week our computers fail. And that's, I think, what's going on, because they just released a new one and my computer is just making me look really bad here. It just died. I don't know what happened. So I'm on my phone now, guys.
Okay.
No
Sorry.
worries.
We can hear you nice and clear.
Great. Of course, it happens when you're in front of all these people, right?
Right.
Anyway, where was I? Oh,
So you're at
so
the music video. You were
yeah. So we meet for the first time, and it just came out, and I said, if what it takes is for me to come to Bogota, Colombia, to do the video, I'll just come, guys. Just tell me when. And shortly after, the manager and their people sent me a WhatsApp, and it said I think it was March 5th, Bogota. We only have one day. And so I went, and that video is done in the downtown of Bogota, their home city, just like right literally in the same streets that they started as a band. They used to own a bar there. And so they showed me the place where their bar used to be. So it was a very special thing because we ended up recording this in their home turf. And I was there for just a few days and had the best time. And so musically, because really that's the theme of today again, the music, once you've been doing this for a while, you're not consciously necessarily thinking of every single decision you make. But one thing I did do very consciously is that I went and I listened to a lot of their music when I was writing the song and tried to, almost put myself in Andrea's shoes, if you will, and like what would she sing? Like the types of melodies and that kind of stuff. And I think that's why it connected with her, because I was really trying to write for her voice, for her style. And then I know Hector is just like this genius of synthesizers and stuff. So he did all this amazing treatment with the synths. I also added some of my own. I recorded the drums as well. And so stylistically, it's just this mixture of, electronica with maybe pop and just this Latin rhythm that's implied throughout in the vocals, in the delivery, in the overall vibe. Again, everything is influenced by other things, and so this song again, I think, epitomizes that mixture of cultures and influences I think in a successful way. I think it's connected with, I've played it for people who don't even speak Spanish and like, man, this, I want to dance to it. It has something, I don't even know what you're saying. And then I'll explain, it's like, oh, well, that really matches the feeling. But even if they didn't know the lyrics, it connects. And I think that's amazing when you can achieve that, where it connects with somebody who might not even, I played it for this Russian friend. She speaks English, but she's Russian. She's like Russian, 100%. She's like, I love this. I love this so much. So that to me is a beautiful thing when you can achieve that. So anyway,
Yes.
that's the story.
I still have the melody, the chorus melody in my head, so that's a good job. I,
Thank you.
I have a question about your instrumentation. So when you're going through the process, let's just talk about this last song. Did you record the drums live?
Yes, right here in my studio. Yes.
And then so d- I love it when people do this mix of like, some of it's synthesized, some of it's programmed, some of it's
Yep.
live.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you do a lot of cool layering with each other to bring out the sound?
Yeah. Um, Again, this for me is already something I just kind of do naturally, but if you were to break it down, I mean, I believe what I had originally, like in my original demo, was just a basic keyboard part, just the chords and the vocal and the bass.
Okay,
The bass melody, basically the bass line as we call it,
that's nice. Yeah.
Hector maintained it. Musically speaking, he copied what I had done, but he just changed the sound. He used another bass sound, a synth bass sound, but it's a very kind of full and fat bass sound. Over that basic part, I layered the drums, and then we would send files back and forth, and he would add some synths, and then the guitar player, who even though he lives in the same general metropolitan area as they do, he has his own studio. He did it in his own studio and recorded his guitars. And we would send back mostly what we would send back in terms of comments back and forth was like with the lyrics. I loved what Andrea did, but there were a couple of words that I felt maybe, hey, if you cut a syllable here, add a syllable there. I mean, it was really just kind of splitting hairs, but those were the kinds of things, or some of the things, just why don't we say this instead of that? It was a lyric discussion, but in terms of the music, it just really flowed very fast. But there's definitely a layering, and again, it's kind of second nature to combine, purely acoustic instruments. In this case, the drums. Um, I believe there's an acoustic guitar actually that Leo is his name added, and with the electronic stuff, it's just kind of a natural thing. I don't know if that quite answers your question.
Yeah, I mean that gives a peek into everything. Like, for instance, a lot of our, our community might have met a lot of different collaborators online during lockdown.
Yeah.
So there's some similar, we don't have quite your story, but there's some similarities to some, I think some of us that we've experienced working online virtually with each other. And what a game changer to be able to be somebody in Sweden or Spain and be in LA and in Mexico. Like you can collaborate that way and
Yeah.
use
And I think it's amazing. And of course that kind of thing was happening already, but then the pandemic forced us to do it. And now, it's a very natural thing to have a collaboration with people in different countries and different parts of the world and make it work. Now, that being said, there's nothing like the in-person experience, that
absolutely.
personal connection like I was lucky to have with Osomatli. And really, even though we were lip syncing and just kind of having fun and whatever, when we did the video with Aterciopelados in Colombia, uh, that really kind of gave us what we hadn't had when we recorded the song, which is this personal moment. We got to actually know each other. During the breaks, we had lunch, we shared. Andrea even invited me to her home, and I got to see, just the normal life behind the rock star type of thing. And that's, I think, the beautiful thing about collaborating in person,
Yes.
that you get to know the person, and sometimes musically, or many times, I would say, many times things happen that are quite hard to make happen when you're working remotely, because there's this immediacy. But of course, it's a new world, and it's great when especially when there's no other option. Then of course, I think maybe a hybrid of both would be the ideal, where some of it is long distance, but then you get together and do some of it in person in an ideal world, right? But
Absolutely. And
you
it
can't
sounds,
always do that, right? Yeah.
yeah, and it sounds like that's what you achieved on both songs. So,
Right. Yeah.
yes, yes, absolutely. So, I'm going to open it up for questions. Does anybody have any? Please raise your hand or in the chat. Um, Now's a good time to ask about your production and collaboration, questions. Do you take on new collaborators, Beto?
Of course. There's actually one of them in our group here today that we haven't actually had the chance to actually work on something because I just got really busy. But Raul from San Francisco and I met during this songwriters convention, and I'm always open to working with new people. Always, always. I mean, that I think is what enriches your experience and your sound. You always learn from people. It doesn't matter if they're more advanced in their career or maybe starting out. I learned from this kid that I recorded this song that I mentioned with. He's 17, extremely talented, extremely enthusiastic. It's good to remember what it was like to be a young teenager with all the energy in the world, and it infuses you with energy. So I don't have any limitations in terms of who I'll try to do some new stuff with.
Right, right. It's almost like a serendipity, right?
Exactly.
Connect. Um, right. So, yeah. So I guess that's kind of where the magic happens, and so it's good to know you're in Los Angeles and in the Valley. And if anybody is, wanting to collaborate, would they send you a demo? How would they connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to have you share my email with everybody, afterwards. I don't know if you have a way of sending, or I could, if you want to put it in the chat, I can do it right now. You can just send me your demos and send me, ideas that you might want to work on, and we can talk. And again, if you're in LA, great, but I just sent it. It could
Wonderful.
also be Norway. I just saw that you were from Norway. I wasn't wrong.
You were
And
close. You were super close.
I said Scandinavian. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I see Boston. I see Spain. So of
I do
course.
I do think I've heard of some of Raul's music. I think both of you should connect.
No, we've
I
been.
know you I know
It's
you
really my fault that it hasn't happened, because he was. We already had a little thing starting, and then I was like, man, I'm just overwhelmed right now because he got me at a busy moment. But
right.
we haven't lost touch, and he actually reached out to me before this happened, saying I'm gonna try to make it to the workshop. So I'm glad he did, and yeah, we're
Wonderful.
definitely gonna do it.
Hey, and then Candida is also reaching out. Yes, so I love this fusion. I love, we've been getting, when we have a licensing um, workshop on, whether it's a supervisor or an agency, that, the Latin fusion keeps coming up, African
Yeah,
beat, Latin music, like all of that, combining that kind of, and even throwing in some jazz. There's like this fusion that's happening that, if done right, is just tremendous. It's just so cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Candida's saying she would appreciate connecting with a mentor. Where are you located? Is she?
Hi, I'm located
Hi.
in California. How you
Are
doing?
you in LA or not LA?
No, I'm up towards Stanislaus County. I was in San Francisco Bay Area for 42 years, 42, 47. I don't remember years of my life.
Where is your county?
Huh?
Where is the county you live in?
Stanislaus.
Where?
Towards like the areas of like Modesto,
Oh, okay.
out that way, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, please. I mean, reach out. I put my email there, and let me know what kind of stuff you're working on, and any kind of advice or whatever that I could share, I would love to, you know.
That would be great. I've been doing music since COVID. It's funny
Great.
you mentioned and it kind of forced us into some uncomfortable situations. But for me, with all due respect to everyone that had some challenges there, it was a blessing for me in
Of
disguise. And
course,
that's
of
where
course.
I found my niche in music.
You
Good.
know, that actually happened to a lot of people, you know, like you said, there was this very tragic reality that was happening around us. But at the same time, a lot of us had an opportunity to kind of work on things that we hadn't had the chance to work on, or explore things that we wanted to explore. So I understand what you mean.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And my first song was fully produced in less than 14 days. I had a
Wow.
broken Android and just knowledge on how to Google. And I was desperate to find a tool because I was a community advocate for 40 something years. And I felt completely idle that I couldn't get out from our little town and shelter in place and help people. So I just kept saying, how can I do this? How can I do this? And long story short, I said, I got to make a song and I got to release it on the internet and I got to give people comfort and hope for a better tomorrow. And it was kind of a funny joke because my sister said, okay, let's step back just for a second. This is a great idea, but do you have any experience in music? I went, nope. She goes, you don't know how to read music, write music. I go, nope. She goes, and you sound like a cat caught under a truck tire when you sing? I go, yes. And she said, and we're going to do this how? And I looked at her and said, why are you always focused on what we can't do?
Yeah.
You know, that's to me just I admire what you did, because really what it comes down to is the will of doing something.
Yeah,
It's very little to do, even with what we would call talent or experience. You did it because you needed to, and that's really what music is about. Is it like you
right.
needed to express something, you needed to connect with people, and that's I'm amazed
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
did.
absolutely. And I actually believe I'm quite addicted that I have to self-check and I have to log off on like Thursday so that I unplugged and spend time with family and life balance because I'm just in it, you know?
Right. That's amazing. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Thank
I'd
thank
you.
you
be
for your time.
happy to chat more with you whenever, of
Awesome. Thank you for your time, you guys.
course.
Great. Does anybody else have anything that they want to ask or share even? Um, so now's your chance. And as we're finishing off today, I just want to take a second to let you know next week's workshop, November the 13th at 11 a.m. We have on Lou Lanzer, providing opportunities for independent artists, insights from the Greater Goods Company. So that's happening at 11 next week, and I will be helping facilitate, and that's exciting. Um, yeah, so if anybody ever needs to reach out as a community and and is looking for collaborators, you can always check in with our Facebook group and meet people there. You can introduce yourself um, and 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 state what you're looking for. That would be great, and that's another way to connect with producers or top liners or singers, session musicians, all of that. Um, there's a lot of us that might meet up together and do a full-on, um, just split, like we just do everything either in half, like a 30, 50%, 50%, or you can, if there's three of you, like a Nashville split, that's always fun. Or you can, if you have the funds to pay producer. Yes, and I just put Beto's contact in the chat.
Great.
Anything else you want to share with us, Beto, like before we finish our session with you?
Well, I mean, just encourage everybody to reach out if you think of something after the fact. And like we said at the beginning of the meeting, you know, it was an intense evening, regardless of your preferences. And maybe that's a little bit of what everybody's going through right now. I know I am, but feel free to reach out at any point. And I don't know if you want, I can share one more song, this time in English, this time with a more rock vibe, so we can end the hour with a little music.
Love that.
And Anaida, the song is there also in the YouTube. It's called Orbs of Light. And cool, really quick background here is that this song, which I wrote, the video was filmed entirely in Mexico by two Brits who live in Mexico. So that's another cool kind of cultural mix, their sensibilities coming from Great Britain, combined with my music and the visuals. So
Great.
Orbs of Light. Thank you, everybody, so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Lee, man.
Instructions will follow.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
It's a good one.
That was a great song to end off with.
It's
Yeah.
called Orbs of Light.
Orbs of Light, and it's and on all, you know, Spotify, Apple Music, of course, YouTube, which we were watching, and you know, Tidal, Amazon Music, all the streaming platforms have all my stuff actually, and not just this album. But that's the last full album that I put out. The only full album I've put out that is all in English, and that's from a few years ago, 2017. It came out. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, once again, thank you so much, Beto, for being with us today and sharing your amazing music and your insight and how you put it all together and the magic behind it.
Thank you both for the invitation, and thank you for everybody that came. And please stay in touch. And I would love to stay involved with the foundation. Maybe you can send me some ways to be involved. And you know, we're in the same city, so hopefully we can meet in person one day.
Would love that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. We'll
we'll meet
stay
up
in
for
touch.
yeah, we'll
All
meet up
right,
for coffee or lunch or something.
that
Okay.
would be beautiful. Thank you, everybody. Take
Thank you.
care.
Thank
Take
you
See
care.
so
you.
much.
Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Take
Bye
care.
bye.
Bye-bye.